Hi there. Welcome to week 7. I wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to what we're talking about this week, as I usually do, and talk to you again a little bit about your introduction, which is due at the end of this session as well, on March the 10th by 5 p.m. I'm sure you're all aware. This week we're talking about experiments and survey research. We're using chapters 8 and 9 in the Babby text and your supplemental readings. This is a very important week because the information that you're going to be getting this week will help you in determining your plan, your research plan, your method. If you are going to do quantitative study, it'll be especially useful to you. We are talking about the different ways of observing, the different ways of systematically observing variables to determine, to describe them, to explain them, or to predict, make predictions about them, or to explore them. So you're going to be hearing things about classic research design, classic experimental design, control group, randomization, experimental group, intervention. You're going to be reading a lot about reliability and validity. It is very important that you make sure that you understand what you're reading this week. This is not a week that you can sort of skim through and say, I don't really get it, but I'll probably pick it up by the end of the semester. You need to really dig into these chapters and make sure that you understand fully what you're reading. If you have questions, any questions at all, go to the boards and post them. Or if you don't feel comfortable using a public forum, you can email me and ask me. Also, make use of the video Q&A. If you have a question that you'd like to see me answer rather than just read about what I write, please post a question in the Q&A to Dr. Rose with the specific request that this be a video answer, and I will be very happy to go put that information there. So please make use of that function because this might be a week that you really need it. Your Research Cafe has a quasi-experimental article for you to experiment for you to read about. It's important that you understand what a quasi-experimental design is too, and how it differs from the classic experiment. These are all things that you need to know. A person with a master's degree should be able to explain to someone else these terms, these definitions, and what they mean, and what they look like in an article, and what their benefits are, and what some of their weaknesses may be. That'll be very important. So be sure that you're getting a full understanding of what you're reading. The chapters are very easy, I think, to interpret. If you don't get it the first time, read it again. Read it as many times as you have to until you understand what you've read. Whatever strategies that you have worked out in your academic career through high school and college, undergraduate, if it means sitting down with your chapter and writing out notes or typing notes or having somebody quiz you at the end or whatever it may be, flashcards, I don't know, whatever's worked for you, this is the week to really dig those strategies out and make use of them. Because not only, you might think, well, I made it through the quiz, so I must know it well enough. The quizzes are really just a self-check. They're only 10 questions. And they're really just to sort of help you figure out where you're on track and where you're deviating, which is why you're allowed to take them multiple times to get full credit. I really want them to be a learning tool. I got that wrong. Let me go look it up again. Let me make sure I understand this. And I know people are doing that. People have emailed me with questions. This is what I thought was right. Help me understand this. So I know you're doing that, and I'm so pleased to see it. Continue with it this week. And if you haven't been doing that up to this point, this is the week to start. So really, really, really dig into this material. Make sure you understand. Because if you decide to do a quasi-experimental design or an experimental design or whatever it may be for your research proposal, I want to know that you know what you're doing and that you can explain it. So you'll have to be able to do that. You're going to be reading about pre-test, post-test, independent and dependent variables, the double-blind experiment, placebos, probability sampling, matching, randomization, variations on the experimental design, like pre-experimental, quasi-experimental. You're also going to be reading about validity and reliability. This is very important. In any proposal, you have to be able to tell your reader why the measures that you have chosen, if you're doing a quantitative measure, are reliable and valid. Now, if you're doing qualitative research, you still have to deal with issues of validity and reliability. You might deal with them a little bit differently, but they're still there. It's very important because the validity and the reliability are one of the major tenets that we use to critique. So keep that in mind as you're doing your quantitative and qualitative article critiques for week 9. Looking at the reliability and the validity is what we're sort of the heart of the study. Are these replicable? Could you have the same findings twice? And if you did, are they accurate? Are they accurately measuring what they think they're measuring? Are they using appropriate measures? Are these valid instruments, etc.? So you'll hear about the different types of validity and the different methods you can use to establish reliability. You need to know what all those are and have a working knowledge of what they mean. So if you read in an article and they use the split half method to establish reliability, you need to know what that means. If you don't, it's like reading gibberish. So pay extra special attention to all those things this week as you read. You're also going to be reading about survey research, the use of questionnaires. It's a very popular thing to do in quantitative analysis. You can usually get a lot larger of a sample that way. And there are benefits to that in terms of generalizability, but there are also weaknesses to this. So you're going to need to be able to speak to those strengths and weaknesses of doing survey research. Guidelines for how to develop questionnaires that are going to be reliable and valid. Okay, so you're going to read a lot about that. How to construct your questionnaire, how to order the items, how to pre-test it, monitoring your return rate. It's also going to talk to you about interview surveys, which are different than qualitative interviews, so keep that in mind. But what is this, the survey interview technique? All kinds of different surveys, telephone surveys, web-based surveys, comparisons of the different survey methods. You're also going to read about secondary data analysis, which a lot of people do. You get a big already established data set, and you look at the variables and you examine something that's already existing. It's a popular technique, but it also has its strengths and its limitations. So that's what you're going to be digging into this week, and that's what you really need to be focusing on and making sure that you really understand all of that. It'll be very important for when you start writing your actual methodology. You also this week have your introduction due, and I've put a video Q&A answer up about the introduction, and week 5 and 6, I believe, talk about the introduction more specifically. So in these final words, I guess I would say, make sure that your introduction gives me the so what of this study. Why is it important to do? You need to be able to show. I had an interesting correspondence with one particular student who was really digging in and getting started and really getting it rolling. And we talked about the need for outside sources. And this person had a really good grasp of the reason for that, and I'll share with you. As sad as it may be, and we aren't trying to be mean when we say it, and it's not just me or faculty at TWU, it's the academic community in general. And this, again, is not meant to be insulting or mean. It's just kind of truthful. And I've had it said to me as a student, and I thought, oh, why can't I have a question? But now I understand, after reading many reviewers' comments of manuscripts, why it's the case. In scholarly writing, it's not so important to the reader what you think about something. What is important is that there is a consensus in the literature about this issue. So you can't just say, I think. Like, for example, in my child care research, I can't just say, I think child care quality is low. Who cares what I think, truly? It's just my opinion. We have to move beyond opinion and establish credibility. So I have to be able to say, so-and-so and such in their national study found quality levels to be low. Okay, so keep that in mind. Whenever you find yourself writing, I think or I feel, get rid of it and find somebody who supports that and cite them. Also try to write in the third person. You don't want to be using I or we. There's a place for that in certain qualitative methods of writing, but for this introduction, let's stick with third person until we figure out what our methodology will be. All right, well, good luck. If you have any questions at all, let me know. I'm here to answer questions. I'm happy to make video Q&As, so give me something to do. Have fun.